Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment in the Quickview series. And this one, do you know how we say around these parts that the common practice, the modus operandi, is to temper expectations? My expectations are extremely tempered. I believe at this juncture, there is if I want to be generous, there is a 10% chance that this item will remain installed following this test. Because we have here the Furitek Komodo Unity 10, which is the all-in-one ESC outrunner combo, which has not been well reviewed nor received by other reviewers on the internet. But A-Main had a price on it that I could not pass up. Why are my hopes so tempered? Well, there is one. I keep wanting to say zero, but one has not been pulled out of service. So as of this recording, prior to this being installed for the test, there's a singular Furitek product in the entire fleet, which is around 50 deep. So 2%. And it's just the ESC. It is just a Lizard 10. Lizard? Python? One of those they're all reptiles. One of those. This, I am genuine, I want to be hopeful for this because this fits a need and an application that I have, right? Because I have this gentleman right here. This gentleman's name is Rainbird. Rainbird he's a 10 Pro, right? But we went through an arduous and ridiculous and ill-advised process in an effort to reduce his weight as much as physically possible. Cut the chassis, lightweight uppers, machine up the smallest pieces that I can. All of his hollow balls have been replaced with Delrin. And you might think, oh, well, that's weight weenie stuff. It absolutely is weight weenie stuff because if you take the sum total of them, it takes more than an ounce off of the vehicle. This is definitely not a kilo of wheelos guy. His four combos combined weigh about 500 grams, 125 a corner. Running on an alloy beadlock, it's tough to get much lighter than that. He ran plastic rear wheels for a while. The plastic motor plate, which is the lightest possible option, has a little alcove in it. See that little shape right there? So you can't fit an outrunner in there. If you want to run an outrunner, you have to run it with the wires pointing down. And no matter what configuration I put an outrunner on him in, the wires would either hit the upper link, the wires would hit the drive shaft. There was nothing that really worked. So this seems like a perfect solution, right? The internet has not said anything really kind about the Komodo Unity 10. And then above and beyond that, every Furitek ESC that I've used, with the exception of whichever one it is, it's either a Python or a Lizard, with the exception of the one that's still in service, they overheat, they overheat, or they have no functioning LVC at all. Like they'll just pull a battery down till it wants to explode. So I have a drawer full of LiPo alarms, and I have to run a LiPo alarm on it. I don't want to do that. I want simple stuff. But on this guy, who is currently tipping the scales at a portly 2,400 grams, give or take, right around 2,400 grams. And you might say, well, that's not exactly a lightweight. His front axle, just the axle assembly with the servo mounted to it, not including the wheels and tires, just the front axle weighs 1,200 grams. So his front axle is 50% of the weight of the RTR vehicle, including a battery. So could he be lighter? Oh yeah. At the peak of it, he was 1,887 grams. And I really found out, particularly on this layout with this suspension geometry, I definitely found the point of diminishing returns, because he got to a point where he was so light. These foams back here, which are soft, were far too firm. Even under weight transfer while climbing, it barely bags them out. So, the heaviest single component, because an axle is definitely a compound operation, the heaviest individual component on this vehicle is unquestionably that Fusion. Fusions are not light. He was never intended to run a Fusion 1200, and I fear that he's going to have a Fusion 1200 back immediately after this is done, because I don't seek out reviews before I do a test of my own, because I don't want to be colored and or influenced by that. It's almost inevitable, but I haven't watched any full reviews on it to see if the performance is negative. I've just, like, you see the clickbaity title where it's like, don't buy this. This thing is an outright failure. More trouble than it's worth, and on and on. And for punishment, I am gluttonous. So we are going to find out together. And not only was it purchased with this particular vehicle heavily in mind, specifically for this vehicle, but this vehicle is absolutely the best suited for this, because he's running a 1200, Fusion 1200. Well, that's what's in him right now. That's not coming out without removing the pinion. And we have to remove the pinion because the pinion is so big. The 1200 is geared down enough. He's running 1560. That's a big 60 tooth on there. He's running 1560. So we can go... I was hoping I didn't have to cut it. We can go... So 1800, which is what this is. 2810, 1800 kV. So we're pulling a 1200, and we're replacing it with an 1800, which, if mine serves, is a 50% increase in RPM. Does that sound about right? I feel like it does. Oh, I did it. I did myself in. I didn't think I would have to turn the soldering iron on, but in my insane lust for weight savings, come on. I hardwired the power wires for the direct power servo. I hardwired them to this, so we do have to desolder that and then solder it onto here, which means if the rest of the internet proves to be correct and it has no drag brake, that's the number one thing that I've read, absolutely no drag brake, and then the others saying it gets hot. And the red for Furitek, much like a fire truck, apparently stands for fire, because I don't have one that doesn't get at least warm. And some of them get so hot that you go like this. Yeah! And if your finger instinctively recoils, that means you're well into the hot range. So I'm going to solder those wires on, and then we're going to slap that thing on there, because I don't know if I can get a scale. Well, if we do it like this, let's see what we're looking at potentially. So this isn't a wholly accurate weight because some of it's still attached, but we're at about 178 grams. Add a little bit for the wire and the plug. Let's let's call it 185. We're 185, and then this, dead smack 100. An 85 gram savings is not insignificant. Oh, I should also point out for the record, all of the screws, all of the M3x10s are titanium. Front upper links are Delrin, rear upper links are hollow aluminum tube. So in terms of sprung, we left the plastic motor mount. In terms of sprung weight, does it clear the wires? It does. It's like a perfect fit. Dang. So we have hopes. By the way, 4-1 spurt opinion on a 1200, which means we should be around 6-1 spurt opinion on an 1800 to get the exact same speed. So I'm going to put a 10 or an 11 or a 12. Well, if I've got a 10, and I should, if I've got a 10, we're just going to run a 10. Because we do like a nice even number. That's definitely a 9. When you have your pinion storage this refined, this is what you get to do whenever you want to. That looks suspiciously like a 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 12. All right. I will return momentarily. I just keep finding 9s. I will return momentarily with a 10-tooth pinion installed. And that's another 9. I'm going to make a little stack of 9s. And the wires soldered. Oh, we should turn the soldering iron on, huh? And then we're going to take this out to the rocks and we're going to test it. I found an 11. If that's as close as I can get, that's as close as I can get. I swear I have 10s, though. There she blows, my lad. It's a little bit worn. It's not the new. When you get that high shine on the teeth, look at that, like a mirror. It's not the newest, might not be the quietest, but that will get us the exact same gear. It should be the exact same final. It's got a little bit of instructions on key features. Supports 3S and 4S. 4S on 1800 would be spicy. It's real spicy. 5 amp BEC selectable output. It's not going to affect us at all as we're direct power. And we calibrate through the app. I already have the app installed on my phone. We're going to see, I'm going to see if we have to do a firmware update, which, my God, I mean, I just bought it. So odds are, it's 99% chance we're going to have to update the firmware to make the thing work. So, minutia and annoyingness, that will go in there. We'll solder it up. And then we'll give it a test. And we're going to cross our fingers because every once in a while, something can surprise you. And please, on this day, Komodo Unity 10, please surprise me. Okay. That was easy and straightforward. And if I had just opted to use a JST, would have been even easier. I just finished soldering it. I haven't even turned the iron off. And I have this okay, on the one hand, ordinarily this would have gone right into the motor drawer to get used on something in the future. My confidence level is so stunningly low. Okay, this uses the non-power switch method of calibration. Let's calibrate together. And it's always fun with the non-power switch method of calibration because you have to hold the trigger down and then get it plugged in. That didn't sound right. Will be one time. No. I don't. No. Obviously not. Okay. Turn on your radio and move your radio throttle stick forward or throttle stick reverse. What? Plug your battery to the ESC, motor beeping sound, then motor will beep 4 times. Set to 0% throttle or 0 speed, it will beep 1 time. Set it to maximum speed, move your radio throttle stick forward and motor will beep 2 times. Setting up your reverse, wait. So holding it just starts calibration. And then leave it, then go forward, then go reverse. Okay. So it doesn't matter. This is just to tell it to go into calibration. Okay. There's that. There's that. There's that. Okay. And it's reversed. And because it was reversed for Hobby Wing, we get to do it again. Nope, I let it go too soon. If you've ever seen me calibrate a Hobby Wing product, there's something about having a power button. Okay, there's the 4. There's that. There's that. There's that. It's still reversed. Probably in the Bluetooth. That's my guess. All right. So if there's something that Furitek needs to be given credit for, credit where credit is due, is that their Bluetooth integration is excellent. You can make changes on the fly. So I just changed motor rotation from clockwise to counterclockwise. It has the FOC set to maximum, which is 30%. Max brake at 100. Drag brake at 0 to 100. Okay, I mean, I'll have my phone on me so we can adjust it as we go. Let's put it this way so it stops pivoting the whole block here. That thing makes some real weird noises. I'm on board for the weird noises. It's got a real... I mean, we've got low speed. Is cruise set on this guy? Yes. I can't fault that. Can't really hear it. This is how they get you. Ooh. Ooh. So that, do you see it? What? Yeah. The drag brake takes a second to catch and hook up. Where's my man? This is a Furitek test. So we got to take the old Fire Harden Raytech with us. That's not great. That's not. I mean, it's 70 degrees. 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't even think this thing has a... This thing is so American, I don't even think it has a switch in it to go to... Oh, it does. 23. But the temperature of the bench is 14. So, and I switched it back to Fahrenheit and it didn't switch. No, I need my Fahrenheit back. Okay, you can't... if you have a Raytech that's been through a fire, as you can see, still works. MT6? Nah, MT6 mil temp. That ESC is slightly warming. We will see. Ooh. Are we cautiously optimistic? No. We are anticipating disaster, is basically what we're doing. This is going to... Oh, my God. We've got the controls. We can make the adjustments. We've got the phone, so we can make our Bluetooths as required. I mean, yeah, it's electronic, and we've got to cut out windows so we can just... It's cooling back down now that it's off of drag brake. We've got a 2,400 gram... No, should be closer to 2,300 grams now. Like, there's definitely a smoothness there. On the bench, okay, it's a little loud. There it is, right there. That's a deep weirdness. Is that... What am I looking at here? Is that the wheel or the tire? It's the tire. Good, it's the tire. To the rocks we go. And, I want the pattern to break. I don't want all of my Furitek, aside from the little dynamic 380 that we've got in a rig, I don't want all of my Furitek resigned to a bin. I want this to work. And the internet says that it's not. So come on. Komodo Unity 10, which sounds like a secret name for a military project. Prove them wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove everybody wrong. Don't make me put this fusion back in. That is the height of the bar. Be as good as a Fusion 1200. And now that I've vocalized that, that's a fairly high bar. And just like that, we're out on the rocks. 50 degrees Fahrenheit and 10 degrees Celsius almost lines up perfectly on the thing. 50-10, just about 70% relative humidity. We're in for a reasonably warm one today, but it's proper Predator weather. And while that suits a Predator tire, I think it's going to prove kind to the Furitek setup as well, because, it's 50 degrees. Or 10, depending where you are in the world. I will say this. It feels very smooth. Like, very smooth. And I don't know if that's because I geared it down a little excessively. I don't think I did. Like, here's the deal. I can tell you from a few seconds of operation, the only thing that can pull this thing down is the functional stuff that speed controls and or motors and combos are supposed to do. A, don't get hot. B, when the battery gets low, cut off. That's really all we're asking, because the Bluetooth integration works. It's not Bluetooth slaving, it's Bluetooth integration. You can calibrate to the radio without using the app. I'm going to tell you right now that on the default settings, the drag brake is not tremendous. I think the motor is, what do they say, a 2208? It's small. It's small. And he is light. Let's not forget, 2,400 grams RTR. I give it this, because of the way they implement FOC, it is the transition between that low, like what would be a sine mode, I guess it is a sine mode, it's an outrunner, the transition over to normal power is exceptionally smooth. I will absolutely give it that. Like, definitely on par with a Fusion. But I can tell you this right now, as we're going to keep harking back to 2,400 grams. This is not a heavy vehicle. And these are the default settings. We can turn it up. The more drag brake you add, the more heat you're going to generate. So we need to run this about for a little bit and see if we put any heat into it. The trigger feel on it is very good, very Fusion-esque. I'm on board for that. What it also has is, and this is a bug or a feature, depending on how you like to look at it. When you release the trigger, there is a somewhat soft transition down, where it moves from, like, because we're just in FR, it feels like a soft brake. So we go, it's not boom. Like, remember when we were on the bench and it would roll up and then it would just kind of roll and then catch? It's a bug or a feature. I kind of view it as a feature because it's not abrupt. Now, yeah, I mean, what we would hope for is more drag brake, more electronic anchor status. But in terms of feel, in terms of control, it's every bit there. Of course, I mean, there's the drag brake is. Let me do this. There's definitely a little bit of PWM coming up over the top. It's not screamy, but if someone is there and they know what a Fusion sounds like, they're going to know this is not a Hobbywing Fusion. There's a little piercer. There's a little ear piercer way up top. And that is a double-edged sword for me because it means that my hearing damage isn't extensive enough to where I can't hear that anymore. But it also means, like, I don't know what that sounds like to other people. I don't know how much of it the microphone filters out. Yeah, nose down, tail down feels pretty much exactly the same in terms of drag brake. And it is not wide open throttle that is going to heat this up. It's this stuff. Ooh. It's this stuff. You set your cruise control at about 20% and point it towards some rocks and let FOC just do its work. I'm not hearing or seeing anything stuttery. It's not like ooh. Okay, so there's torque there because you saw it really start to pull a squat really as it nailed that front pumpkin into a rock. And now back on cruise. So the low is really quite good. Yeah, it's FOC and this is FOC all the way up. So this is maximum smoothness, and the higher the FOC is, again, the more heat we're going to generate. So cruise control descending, if you don't do it, look into it. Because getting that, a trigger pull is what, ordinarily? 14, 15 millimeters? Trying to get the full extent of control out of 14, 15 millimeters of trigger pull is often a bit of a chore. So when you're coming down the hill, something like this, just let the cruise control set it at 20-ish% and throttle down. BEC is working fine. I have not noticed any weirdness from the servo at all. No slowness, no nothing. Okay, right there. Again, obviously, we shout out Injora comp pins, good old S4 comp pins. Can you do better for that amount of money? You know, we're usually looking at what? I don't know what they are nowadays. I've already bought like half a dozen sets. Let's say $25. Single stages, $25. They do like a narrower wheel. So you want something that 19, 20, 21 millimeter beadlock ring. That's where they're happiest. They're not as happy on a 24 millimeter ring. So if you've got a set of S4 comp pens and you're like, I don't know, check what rims you've got them on. These are real deal bona fide Vanquish, which have both plastic rings and I want to say they're 20s, 20 wides. So we've been right around that FOC zone pretty much the whole time. It is 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and I am happy to report that that motor is not even lukewarm. I can barely feel any warmth, and my hands are cold. It's 50 degrees out. So if there was heat coming off of it, I'd be able to feel it. It would be artificially accelerated, enhanced. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the app. I don't know what the Bluetooth range is. Let's find out what the Bluetooth range is. Right about there. Looking very pickle-like in the morning light. All right, that thing hooked up instantly. As soon as I open the app, there's that little red car up at the top. The little car went solid red, which means we hooked right up. We need running. So right now we have max brake at 100. We have drag brake 0 to 100%. I wish they'd let me type it, because if I have something to complain about, it's that 1% at a time. So that was drag brake at 0%. Max brake at 100, max reverse at 100. Now let's take reverse down to, I like about a 75. And just test to see if it's working, let's take voltage cutoff up to 3.4 volts per cell. It is by default at 3.2. Then we click on the car, we click disconnect, close the app, and we should be right back in business. So this is 20% drag brake. 20%. Now what you do is you don't leave well enough alone. 20%, wait, let me swing it around. 20% is holding this thing electronic anchor style. So any internet reports about utter lack of drag brake, maybe your vehicle is heavier. Like, would I plop this in something that weighs 7 pounds? No. Wait, no. There's no such thing as the singular solution for powertrain, right? The Fusion 8 is an otherworldly beast, and you're not putting it in a Bushido. You're not putting it in a TF2. Horses for courses. And I'm leaving that guy hanging right there because that is in a drag brake situation, because I just want to leave him there. I want to leave him there to sit, because the way an outrunner works is as it twirls, they're really good at shedding heat. So as it sits right there, it's really picking up warmth because that motor is just engaged the whole time. What I will do, though, is I will turn that drag brake down, because 20%, this is the beauty of having cutout windows. Okay, I can just feel it now. It's right around the temperature of my skin, which is probably, my fingies feel cold. So let's take this opportunity. Boom, app up. We go Furitek. We click on the boom, and it's they really do a job. Let's go all the way back down to 10. Maybe it didn't need much. Do we want to adjust anything else? We can do a full throttle curve adjustment. I don't think it's necessary. We have neutral brake from 1 to 5, low speed 10%, punch at 2. Neutral forward has normal, narrow, wide, and super wide. Again, due diligence is not my jam. I don't know what any of that is. And now we are going to disconnect again. And we're right back at it. I am on board. This is 10%. Ooh, look at. I changed my mind. I'm absolutely on board with it moving in 1% increments. The connection speed. I don't know if they've been working on it. They have to have been working on it because it is so good. I feel lucky about, 17. And also worthy of pointing out, much like any of the 40 amp AM32s, I'm not a big fan of pairing those to a receiver-powered servo. If you're going to use a real compact solution like this, just get a direct-powered servo. Now, I got this on Black Friday pricing for the Komodo. It was $85, which puts it right in the heart of Fusion pricing. I had all of my 18. I think 20 is perfect. 18 has got just the slightest roll, but I think we can get away with 18. I have, and I don't know if I leaned into it hard enough, but as of recent, and I mean covering, I would say a good year, I've not been wary or reluctant to recommend Furitek. I have actively not recommended Furitek. This was a time I was like, you've got to get your ish together. The lizards and pythons were dice rolls. You were genuinely rolling the dice. And as someone with an at least passing understanding of how science works, is this a dice roll? Well, what I have to do is I have to buy a second one because I won't know until I know. One functional one. I don't want to fall into the ISDT problem where people would be like, oh, I got an ISDT ESC+70 thing. We're great. Never given me a problem in my life. And I had multiple that were just absolute catastrophes. So if there's someone out there that has tested the Komodo Unity 10 and found that to be a catastrophe, I'm not going to discount that. I think that that's absolutely possible. This is your mileage may vary. I would say 5.5 pounds, right? Right about where this is, 2,400, 2,500 grams. RTR is probably about the height of where I would put this. Castle, for years, always had these recommendations under all of their ESCs and motors, like, it is rated for a vehicle of this weight. And it was always some incredibly low weight on those, like, Sidewinder combos with the 1406s. They'd be like, for rigs up to 4.5 pounds. And you're like, what? And we were running them in hulked out slashes at like 8 pounds. So I don't know. Many times, if a manufacturer says it, a lot of time it's for consumer safety. You know, they don't want these things blowing up. Would I take this and slap it in a TRX4? No, absolutely not. This is not for that. And why? Because a TRX-4 doesn't just fit a Fusion. You could put a Fusion 8 in a TRX-4 if you wanted. It fits with basically no modifications. You have to trim the servo mount a little bit, and that's it. It just fits. We run a combo because it is what is necessary. This guy, being one of the lighter members of the team, the Fusion was just an absolute chunk. It was, what, nearly double digits percent? Like approaching 10% of the vehicle's total weight. And if we look at sprung weight, considering that we have a, 1,200 gram front axle, meaning that this thing is 65% unsprung weight, we took off 85 grams of sprung weight by putting this on. And I'm not a weight weenie, not by nature. I will spend money to a point to save weight, to remove weight. But there is that gentleman out there always hollering lightweight always, and there is something to it. I say lightweight considered, right? I think 6.5 pounds is right. The 6.5 to 7 pound zone, sort of around 3 kilos. 3 kilo is like this sweet spot because your choice of tire is wide open. Your choice of power plant is wide open. Your choice of insert is wide open. You can throw stuff at it and it's going to work. If you start throwing pieces together, grab your bins and start assembling and refabbling, you're probably going to end up with something in this like 6.5 to 7 pound range. You're going to hit around 3 kilos. Hitting around 2 kilos. And we've gotten this guy below that. And I had liked it at 2,300, and that was on plastic wheels. So we gained about 200 grams with the wheel change. But we gave up 85 grams with the combo change. I will say, from here on the bucket chair, if you can find one for 85 bucks and you have a vehicle that is, let's say, sub 2.5 kilos, this can definitely be an option. If you've built yourself a lightweight, for frame of reference, the other two 10 Pro based vehicles here are both over 3 kilos. So this guy, 600 grams lighter is not a small amount, right? And that 600 grams on him is entirely sprung weight removal. He's got a better sprung to unsprung than the other two 10 Pros by a decent margin. So we have a twofold goodness. Let's see. See, it's 75%, but at 100, it's not exactly howly, but it's not going to be as quiet as a Fusion. There are caveats to everything. Everything we do in this is a compromise of one sort or another. And I don't think that's a point of contention, okay? Everything you do for performance sacrifices vanity to a degree. And everything you do for vanity sacrifices performance to a degree, right? A lot of people will look at a pin tire and go, ugh. I get it. I think everyone on Earth, nearly, maybe not everybody, will look at that body and go, ugh. The 10 Pro body is hideous. You know what it also is? Very light. That whole body weighs less than a J-Concepts creep cab. So what we have is parts acting in concert. This thing could be significantly lighter. Don't forget, if this was stock axles on here, I would argue it would perform worse, but we could get well under 2,000 grams. We've done it. We got to 1887, and I think we probably could have gotten 1,600. But the performance would be terrible. It's all compromise. The trigger feel is excellent. It feels enough like a Fusion that you kind of forget that it's not. If we only have to turn the drag brake percent up 18%, it's doing fine. Now, again, we have very little rotating mass, 125 grams per corner, 500 grams total, which for full combos is light. I would say a median would be around 800 grams, 200 grams per corner. 75 grams per corner is not insignificant. These are plastic ringed bead locks. We can't get much lighter at all, and they're skinny tires as well. What I'm trying to emphasize and hopefully overemphasize is your results are going to vary if you set your rig on the scale. Like, don't put this in a Phoenix, you know, because I can't guarantee that heat management is going to be the same. Also, I would maybe think twice about putting this in something like a VFD, where it's a little bit confined. It's wide out in the open. If I go right here, I can see it through the window, twirling away. Let me get one last finger pad on here. It is, by the lathe trained fingers, I would say that this motor is between 80 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit, which is basically nothing. Like, look at how small of a solution we've got in there. Look at that little guy. And that little guy is hanging completely out in the open. And this is my favorite type of Quickview because the surprise is pleasant. I fully anticipated having to put that 1200 back in. The speed is good. The control is good. We have a bunch of adjustments. The Bluetooth integration is good. The regular average everyday price, I want to say this thing's like, what is it, 119, 129? That's a little high for my liking. 85 bucks though. I will be getting another one because I can think of, it's got that little softness. I can think of a couple more applications where one of these would be suitable, both due to weight, due to size constraints. It's a 2-in-1, not an all-in-one. This is not a solution for everything. If you're under 25 grams and you have a weight and or space limitation, take it into consideration, right? Direct power servo. If you're pairing it with a receiver powered servo, I can imagine that BEC getting hot, 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 right? It's really good in the lens of a Quickview. We're going to see how it does over time, right? It's staying in him. I'm not taking that out. 850 and the Komodo Unity 2-in-1, Unity 10 2-in-1 is staying in there. And I am cautiously, at this point now, cautiously optimistic. I had basically no optimism prior. So take it with as many grains of salt as is necessary. As always, questions, comments, and concerns, list them in the comments section below. I was pointing down like this in the comments section below. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Canyon. Rainbird, this is as good as his power plant has ever been. He and I both look forward to seeing you in the next one, and in between now and then, please, one and all, do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. I don't know. I'm surprised. And again, this is why I try not to watch too many videos before I make mine.